Are you ready to unlock your child's potential? Find the perfect blend of learning and fun at MrBTheTeacher.com. Start with his 3 award-winning books, Guidelines for the Successful Student, a closer look at parenting your school-aged child. The essential speller, the feller, and humorous and engaging reading like My Coconut Head. All on sale at Amazon.com. But the learning doesn't stop there. Make any subject fun with the catchy, curriculum-based tunes from Mr. B's Beats for Brains. Please enjoy this sample.
I will continue this mix. You must learn to count by 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 9 is 54. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times 11 is 66. And 6 times 12 is 72. 6, 12, 18, 24.
Is your child ready to see real academic growth? For personalized expert tutoring, connect with Mr. B through Varsity Tutors. Details are at MrBTheTeacher.com. That's MrBTheTeacher.com, your partner in learning success.
You're listening to A Teaching Moment with Mr. B.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to A Teaching Moment with Mr. B, with yours truly, Mr. B the Teacher, Steve Burgess. In this podcast, episode number 52, we're talking about a very interesting topic. And the name of the topic is AI did the homework, but did your child learn anything? Again, AI did the homework, but did your child learn anything? Well, AI is a growing phenomenon, as you know, in business, in education, in all aspects of society. And there's been some pros and cons that people have raised about using AI in our work, for students in school, and in every aspect of society. Is even used a lot in music these days. So let me begin with this statement. Your child turned in a perfect assignment, but couldn't explain a single answer in the assignment. Does that sound familiar to any of you? Let's talk about that. If so, don't worry, we have a solution. Number one, we're going to talk about the rise of AI in education. Let's first address that. AI tools are everywhere now, as we know. Students can generate essays, solve math problems, and even summarize books in seconds. Whereas back in the days where there was no AI, before the 2020s, we had to resort to writing papers on our own. We had to do a lot of research, whether online or in the library, to find the answers to many problems. And we had to use credible sources in order to make our points valid. But here's the question. Is convenience replacing comprehension for these students? And the answer is, it depends on how the AI tools are being used. Number two, the second point I want to address is that there's this illusion of learning. When AI does the work, we have to recognize when AI is doing the work for the student and when it is merely assisting the students in getting the work done for ideas and so on. When AI is doing the work, the student will skip the struggle, which is where learning happens. They will miss critical thinking practice and they become dependent instead of independent learners. So in other words, you might have a student trying to write an essay They might just type in the topic and tell AI to generate the essay for them. And it generates it for them. And then they turn this in, it's a perfect paper, they get an A+. There was no learning taking place. There's no critical thinking involved. There was no thoughts about how they were going to structure their essay. There was no thought put into their topic, how they were going to develop the topic. So all of that is gone when AI does the work for the student. And then they therefore become dependent instead of independent learners. And we got to remember that AI is not perfect. And even though when it is, there's no learning taking place when a student just generates products using AI tools. So here are some red flags that parents need to be aware of when students are using AI to generate their tasks for school. If your child gets answers quickly but can't explain them, there's a sign that they might have used an AI tool or got some kind of help. Number 2, their homework is perfect but their test scores are low. Hello? That is a key sign right there. I always test my students online. I always ask my students to explain why they say what they say. They don't just use vocabulary, but they have to explain why they use that vocabulary the way that they did. Even if they used other resources to help give them the ideas of how to generate a sentence, they still have to be able to explain them. And many times, if students cannot explain them, they use the AI tool to help them generate it in the first place. We should encourage critical thinking as much as possible. So that's a problem right there. That's a red flag. So number 1, your child gets answers quickly but can't explain them. Number 2, their homework or classwork or projects are perfect but their test scores are low. And number 3, they avoid showing their work or explaining their thinking. They just say, oh, I did my homework. I just did it in like five minutes, and they just go about their business. No, you need to check to make sure they understand what they're reading, understand what they're writing, understand what the teachers are teaching. Because this is going to be the key to success when they take their tests. When they take any classroom tests, and even their state tests, their final exams, is going to be a crucial component. How much have they retained during the year in every concept? So we still have to think about what we're learning. There needs to be a thought process still that occurs with our students, just like we who are older can remember. So there's got to be room for growth, room for skill development, because in the real world, they still have to have critical thinking skills for every profession or occupation that they might seek. So then the question asks, how do I turn AI into a learning tool, not a crutch, that is applicable or appropriate for our students? How do we turn this learning tool? So instead of banning AI and saying that it's all bad, and that students should never use AI and people in business should never use AI, I say it can be a very helpful learning tool if it's used in the right way. Number 1, we must ask AI to explain the steps or explain a concept that you're not understanding, not just give answers. Number 2, we might use AI for practice questions on the concept that they're not understanding. Number 3, they could compare their own work with AI-generated responses. And number 4, they need to ask why and how questions, so that their critical thinking is still being developed as they're using an AI tool to assist them with a concept or skill that they're struggling with. So it should only be used as a supplementary tool, just as we have many educational software programs that are used as supplemental tools in the classroom to assist our students with learning. So as a classroom teacher, I never just showed up and say, okay, I'm going to just put all of you on the computer and you're going to learn using the software tool or the AI tool. And if you have any questions, you ask me. No, we have to teach them the concepts. Teach them how to learn the concepts and skills so that they can teach it back to me and they can teach others. So critical thinking is lost when we use these learning tools as the tool to success. It should be a means to an end, not an end in itself. We should use these as a means, as one of many means to learning, to help, assist, to give additional practice, but not as the learning tool that they should use to depend on. It should not be total reliance on these AI tools. And the fifth point that I want to make is the explain it back to me rule. If your child cannot teach it, they don't truly know it. Like students I've had, even online, they'll say, oh, I know how to explain it. I know what this vocabulary word means. But can they explain what it means? Saying that you know what it means and doing it are two different things. So if they cannot explain it, that means they really didn't rehearse it. That means they did not really do it. They don't really know it. Telling me that you could ride a bike and being able to ride a bike are two different things. You could say anything to anyone, but until they demonstrate how to do it, they cannot say they really know it. So you know it by doing it. And 90% of all learning occurs when we not only hear it and say it, but we do it, according to research. So can they explain the answers out loud without any prompting? Can they teach it to you or a sibling in your house? Can they walk through the steps without any prompts from you, without any assistance? And if the answer is yes, then they truly have learned the concept that they were learning. And therefore we could say, well, they truly know how to master, they've truly mastered that concept or skill. But if they don't know how to do that, then chances are they used other tools to assist them to generate the answers for them. Or they cheated somehow by using another source that gave them the answer because they can't even explain. And that's why even when it comes to take-home projects where the students have to generate a project at home and then they have to present it in class, I always taught my students, although they had to do some research and they might use parts of the research, never just take a picture of the research or just print out the research and stick it on their whiteboards. No, you need to be able to write with your own language, with your words, to explain. Although you might do research, although you might consult some learning tools to help you with understanding it, however, they should be able to regurgitate the concept of skills or topics in their own words. And this is the best way to demonstrate their critical thinking skills. This is the best way to test their comprehension. Do you all get that? So, let's raise our students to be great critical thinkers. Let's raise our students to see AI learning tools as a resource, but not as an end in itself. Let's help students to become interdependent or independent learners, where they could use tools to help them grasp the concept or skill, but then they still be able to develop their understanding of the concept and skills themselves, with the end that they will be able to explain it and they'll be able to apply the concepts and skills that they've learned. And until they could do that, they can't say that they truly know the concepts or skills that they are learning. So let's teach our students to be critical thinkers in the 21st century, because in the real world they have to be able to critically think for themselves and for other people in order to affect the world in which they live more successfully. So my closing message is that AI isn't the problem, it's the way that we use the AI tools. So let's raise our students to be great thinkers, not just answer getters. So that brings us to the end of this podcast about AI and the use of AI effectively. Thank you so much for listening to this 50-second podcast. And according to the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. Thank you very much, everyone, and stay tuned for the next podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.